is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon and for coming with some suggestions. And if I can, just go right to Ambassador Bhatia. In a recent GE transaction to sell, I think, locomotives to Pakistan, the Ex-Im Bank matched financing terms that was provided, I think, by China. And I was just wondering, how did the transaction actually play out? And can you give me an idea of whether you think this is a model for future transactions going forward?
Thanks, Congressman. Yes, this is an opportunity that actually remains still playing out. So Pakistan is in desperate need of new locomotives. I'd note as an aside, it's not only an export opportunity for us, but it's also an opportunity to strengthen Pakistan's economy, allow goods and cargo to flow more effectively, thereby strengthening the economy and hopefully addressing some of the other challenges that exist in that country. We went in to bid on it. A Chinese company came in backed by extremely aggressive concessionary financing. And the Pakistani government effectively said to us, if you can't match that, you're not going to be selected. You're not going to be competing. We went to Ex-Im, and Ex-Im, and I should note that China is outside of the OECD, which prescribes certain rules. So we went to Ex-Im. Ex-Im stepped forward with an offer to match what China was doing. As a result of that, we were selected. Now, there are some legal processes going on in Pakistan today. The tender is going to be reissued, and we trust and hope that Ex-Im will step back up with support again. We are confident that at the end of the day, with Ex-Im support, we will win that bid.
If I can just follow up also, you talked before about the content requirement and how that if that was dropped down, you'd like to see it down be an average. I'm guessing probably around 50%. We see Mr. Scheer saying that they'd be able to live with something around 70%. Is there some sort of a marrying in between, or is that something we're just going to have to kind of take a better look at?
Look, I think we'd say we would like to see Ex-Im become globally competitive. To be globally competitive, we think we need to get those content requirements down to roughly what the OECD average is. If it were to be done in certain steps, perhaps going down to 70 and then moving forward to an OECD average, I think that would be something that we'd be willing to be grateful for.
And obviously making Ex-Im more globally competitive.
Exactly.
You said absolutely was going to be able to create American jobs, which obviously from your corporation that would be one way to do it. You also highlighted some other regulatory burdens that were going to be impacting you, and I assume the rest of you as well. Can you talk to me for a second about the economic impact test, and is that costing you jobs here in the United States right now, or can you shed a little bit more light on that?
Sure. The economic impact test, Congressman, is a basic principle, is a requirement that Ex-Im puts in place, which basically yields that results in Ex-Im being unwilling to lend to projects where the export, the U.S. export, could result in augmenting or strengthening the production of a foreign product that may come back into the United States in some form and potentially compete with a U.S. product. The problem with this is what it ends up doing is creating a very complex, very politicized, and ultimately, we think, unproductive equation whereby large exports, potential exports that could potentially support thousands of U.S. jobs abroad end up not happening because Ex-Im financing is unavailable, because there may be a very small number of foreign products or that would come back into the United States. So from our perspective, that's simply a balance of the benefits test, and we think it should weigh in favor of the maximum number of U.S. jobs.
Great, thank you. Mr. Eichert, if I can, I just have a very short period of time. How many countries do you currently export to right now?
In 2010, we exported to 14 different countries during that calendar year. If you add, I've not sat down and added them together, but 20 plus, but 14 in 2010.
And were any private entities, private financing options available to you, or was Ex-Im basically your only financing option?
Some of those countries were cash deals, so we didn't have to access financing. Our customers in those countries did. Where we have access Ex-Im, in most of those cases, we had no private opportunity for financing, and without XM participation, those sales would not have been made.
Great, thank you. And I didn't want to let the time go without at least bringing the hometown company, Boeing, into this. You outlined a couple of items here in terms of your priorities, and I see my time's up. Can you just give me, out of your list of 3 here, what is your top priority? What's the one thing, if we could get it done, that you'd want to see happen here from the committee?
Well, the main thing is to get the bank reauthorized, obviously. There is an emerging issue I would like to raise because, you know, Exim Bank does a phenomenal job on the international front. The transportation division team there, the work they've done, what they've been able to do with respect to the surge in demand to support transactions during the financial crisis has been, you know, unparalleled. But what I am concerned about is the situation now. We just negotiated a new aircraft sector understanding under the auspices of the OECD, which governs the rules of export credit.
Right.
And there is a provision in there dealing with the home markets. And there's a home market restriction that has operated pretty well as between Boeing and Airbus, whereby the U.S., France, Germany, and the U.K. don't finance in each other's markets or in their own markets. However, with Brazil and Canada coming into the new aircraft sector understanding, and now with Canada producing the new C-Series aircraft, which competes head-to-head against the Boeing 737 family of aircraft, and as well as the Airbus A320 family, the Export Development Corporation of Canada will be providing export credit financing support into the United States. Now, our understanding is that an agreement has been made that the United States could have C-Series matching. However, we do not currently have a policy response to match. And that is something I think it's critical that we find a way to ensure that that should happen.
We're having discussions with Treasurer right now on the issue for you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Also, vacancy